Hey everyone, welcome back to Blow Up. Today I'm serving up 5 jaw-dropping, unfiltered Reddit stories that expose entitlement in its rawest form, from absurd ride demands to workplace misadventures and epic engineering fails. These tales will have you laughing, cringing, and wondering just how far entitlement can go. So buckle up and get ready because we're diving in right now. Segment 1. You want me to clean the office exactly like that? Alright, I'll do it. I work as an office cleaner for a small company. My job description is pretty straightforward, but there's one manager who insists on giving very specific instructions on how she wants the office cleaned. I'm used to a little guidance, but this manager, let's call her Karen, has taken it to a whole new level. One day, Karen gives me a very detailed list of things she wants done during my shift. One item stood out: clean the kitchen counters with the exact brand of cleaner in the back storage room. No other cleaner will do. Okay, no big deal. I've cleaned the office plenty of times, but this was the first time I'd been given such a specific request. So, I go to the back storage room and grab the cleaner she mentioned, no problem. But then, I notice something odd. The cleaner she wants me to use is way past its expiration date and smells like chemicals that shouldn't even be used in an office. I'm talking a strong, toxic smell that could easily knock out a small animal. I thought about going to her and mentioning the expired cleaner, but then I remembered her exact words: no other cleaner will do. So, I decided to follow her instructions exactly, despite the potential risk of making the kitchen smell like a hazardous waste site. I started cleaning the counters and the smell filled the whole office. Employees walking by covered their noses and commented on how bad it smelled. One even asked if there had been a chemical spill. But I didn't stop, I just kept cleaning the way Karen had instructed. The smell was unbearable and people were starting to get visibly irritated, but I just kept wiping down those counters, making sure I was using the exact brand of cleaner. Finally, Karen came out of her office, saw the situation, and took a deep breath. "What is that smell?" she asked, coughing a little. I calmly said, "Well, you asked for the counters to be cleaned with the exact brand of cleaner in the back storage room, and that's what I used." She went completely silent and then muttered something about being more specific next time, before quickly retreating to her office. I just stood there watching the employees scramble to open windows and air out the office. I knew I'd followed the instructions exactly, and if she wanted to be that specific about the cleaner, well, that's her problem. Can you imagine being forced to clean with expired, toxic chemicals just because your boss said so? I followed the instructions to the letter, and now the whole office smells like a biohazard. If you were in my shoes, would you speak up or just let the fumes roll in? Drop your funniest office cleaning fails in the comments below. Segment 2. Delete all your files? Okay. Quite a few years ago, I was the senior graphic designer for a sign shop. This one customer was always a pain in the butt, but you get that and you try to keep the returning client happy. One day the owner sent over a design for a new sign to go on a scoreboard as part of their sponsorship package at a local sports oval. This meant we invoiced the football club, not them. Now, their logo is maroon and she wanted a red background when usually it was white. I told her that I wouldn't recommend it because, for one, you would not be able to read it from a distance, across the other side of the oval. The colors are too close, and two, it would look shit. I was a bit more professional. Usually we would also just make the logo all white, but she insisted that she wanted the maroon one. Well, the sign was made and installed. And because I've been doing this job for a long time, well, it looked shit. Oh well, we were paid, client happy, move on. A few months later she asks for another sign to replace it, as apparently it is hard to see from a distance and her husband, also working in the business, isn't happy. Go figure. She also says that we should do it free of charge because it looks shit and it's my fault. Remember, the football club had paid for it. I politely tell her no, she approved the design, remember? So her husband writes me a harsh email about how I should never have made it that color, that it's not in line with his company's brand, and I need to replace it. I got the feeling that his wife was blaming me, so I sent him the receipts, the whole email chain with my recommendations, her insistence, and approvals. I said, "No, I will not be replacing it free of charge." Shortly after, the wife writes me another email saying, "They will never use my business again. Delete all your files now." Thank you. Done. Hallelujah, I will never have to deal with her again. Although deep down I knew that that would not be the case, as we also sponsored that sports oval. The club used us for all their signs and printing. And I knew that I would need to have their logo for something sometime in the future. Knowing this, I maliciously complied. Evil laugh, delete. Now we just can't use a JPEG or PNG file. We need special files that I had set up for their business, all on brand to print consistently at the right color, like years worth of files, adverts, and signs. This means it can be very easy for us to just slot in pre-designed work when needed, a 5-minute job in some cases. Maybe a few months later the football club needs their program printed with all the sponsors included. My time to shine, I was so happy. I mentioned to my contact that I needed this business logo and advert. He said he would get them to send it through. Now I'm not sure why, but they never sent it through on time. It was so strange, huh? So I sent printing proofs without this particular logo/advert added, mentioned I still didn't have it and that if they wanted it printed in time I needed it ASAP. I was kind of hoping that I could print it without them, but the footy club was diligent and wanted them in. I then get a short message from this business saying to just add in their usual advert. What? The one you told me to delete a few months back? Sorry, I don't have it. You need to send me a print-ready file in this size. About 2 weeks later I got the ad to put in. They mentioned to keep it on file for future designs. I heard they had to pay someone to design up something for them. They also got someone else to make up a new sign to replace the shit one. They would if they had to pay for that too, as the club never ordered one through us. I still stick my finger up as I drive past their business. Ever had a client try to delete your work, and then expect you to have all those files magically reappear? I had to maliciously comply, and now I'm forever reminded of that sign fiasco. Would you pull a similar stunt, or do you think it's best to let it go? Let me know your wildest client revenge stories in the comments. Segment 3, the work uniform is mandatory no matter what. Fine. This happened a few years ago. I no longer work with this company because this isn't the first time my personal health and safety was taking the backseat to company requirements. I worked for a security company. My assignment was the vehicle depot lot for a gas company. My duties were to sit in an aluminum trailer shack in the corner of the lot and monitor for suspicious activity. In Philadelphia, many of these areas were targeted by catalytic converter thieves. I was also supposed to make a patrol every hour to ensure the security of the site. Other than my patrols and bathroom breaks, I was not permitted to leave the box for any reason. My uniform was my usual long-sleeve button-up shirt and long pants, but I was also required to wear a boiler suit and hard hat for safety during patrols. Originally, I only wore the boiler suit and hard hat while doing patrols because it was July and the air conditioner in the box didn't work. However, my site supervisor came for inspection and threatened to fire me if I wouldn't wear the boiler suit and hard hat while sitting in the box as well. So I did. The end of July/beginning of August 2022 was one of the worst heat waves in Philadelphia history. On a good day it was 140 plus in the box as it was made of aluminum and sat in direct sunlight for the duration of my shift. 3 days in, I passed out standing in the men's room from advanced heat stroke. The gas company staff called an ambulance for me, and I was airlifted to the hospital. Traffic in this part of the city was notoriously terrible late afternoon/early evening, and every second counted. At the hospital, my body temperature was 105.6 and my pulse was a blistering 147. It took doctors 2 days to get my temperature back to normal and address all of the damage the excessive heat had done to my body. While I was receiving life-saving care, my abandoned post was infiltrated by 3 men who stole the catalytic converters from 18 vehicles. The parent company was livid, and when they inquired why I wasn't at my post when the theft occurred, my doctor took the phone and informed them of my condition upon arrival at the hospital. In the aftermath, I was reassigned. The broken air conditioner in the box was replaced by a 40,000 BTU unit that required a separate generator to power. A few weeks later, my security company lost its contract with the gas company after my replacement fell asleep in the box while the thieves returned to steal another 20 catalytic converters. Ever been forced to wear a uniform that turns your workday into a survival challenge? Imagine sweating it out at 140 degrees while your box becomes a mini sauna, and then, to top it off, catalytic converter thieves hit your post. What would you do if your safety was compromised by ridiculous uniform rules? Let's talk about your worst uniform disasters in the comments. Segment 4, Boss asked me to wash work linen at home, so I did. I worked at a therapy clinic for a short span. We would use towels and pillowcases frequently for exercises and icing/heat applications. We had just moved to a new site that did not have an in-house washer or dryer, and my director had no intentions of hiring a contractor to deliver and pick up linen. We were tasked by the director with taking the linen home ourselves and washing it. Many of my coworkers just took it as part of the job, but I did not agree. We were hourly workers and that was blatantly a work-related activity. When it was my turn to take the linen home, I clocked in on my phone prior to starting the washer, and clocked out only after I had taken out and folded all of the linen. A week later, my manager sent me a text questioning my extra time, and I simply replied that I was on the clock washing the linen. It was not long after that we had a new contractor coming by the office weekly to pick up and deliver fresh linen. Imagine being forced to wash work linen at home and then getting grilled about your overtime. Would you fight back or just clock it all in? What's the wildest off-duty task you've been forced to do for work? Share your stories and let's commiserate in the comments. Segment 5. Notify you for every report? Have fun waking up 50 times a night. I saw this post and decided to share my own military malicious compliance story. This story isn't about the US military, but I will use US Army terms. Some background: I spent most of my military service in a Communications Command and Control Center, CC for short, which isn't as glamorous as it sounds. It was mostly emails and Excel. Our CC was relatively high in the command chain. We were more big picture, managing the operability of communication systems across the whole military. The ones actually doing the work in the CC are enlisted soldiers, but because the work was important, the commander of the CC was always an officer. At the time of this story, I was an E3 enlisted soldier, 3rd rank. I had a lot of time and experience on the job. One day we got a new commander, an O1 fresh out of officer school. She had a really shitty, "I'm an officer, you must respect me" attitude. I was more experienced and older, and I interacted with higher-ranking officers daily, so I couldn't care less, but I tried playing nice. Our work at the CC had a pretty normal procedure. We'd get a report, say, Maintenance A starting, and it would be filed away immediately because we already knew about it. A report like, someone dug through a fiber optic cable and a whole post lost internet connection, would lead us to make phone calls and then notify our commander once we had all the info. She didn't care about that procedure. She wanted to be involved and assert her control. One day she saw a report on one of our computers that we hadn't notified her about yet, so she got really angry and said, "From now on, you are to notify me about every report." Big mistake. That night, the night shift woke her up about 10 times for various reports, and they were being polite. The next day she was visibly sleep deprived. I was on the next night shift and ended up calling her for every report. Sometimes we'd get multiple reports a minute and she was basically on call with me all night. At around 5 a.m. she finally said, "Fine, you don't have to report everything. You know what's important and what's not." So, in conclusion, I'll steal you Captain Maxius's line, "Outrank doesn't mean out no. Let your subordinates do their job." Imagine being forced to wake up 50 times a night just to report every tiny detail. Talk about a nightmare for a sleep-deprived officer. What would you do if you were stuck with a commander who demanded to be notified about every single report? Would you comply maliciously or find a way to turn it into your advantage? Share your military compliance war stories below. These 5 stories showcase entitlement in all its absurd forms, from outrageous personal ride demands and wild client shenanigans to overbearing uniform rules, unreasonable work tasks, and even military micromanagement. They remind us that whether in personal or professional life, entitlement often leads to chaos, but a mix of humor, clear boundaries, and standing up for yourself can transform these moments into unforgettable lessons. How would you handle these situations? Let's discuss. Thanks for watching Blow Up. If these outrageous tales of entitlement made you laugh, cringe, or reflect on your own experiences, please hit like and share your thoughts and stories in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the unpredictable world of Reddit. This is Your Name from Blow Up. Stay resilient, keep laughing, and never let entitlement steal your shine.